Hello everyone and welcome back. So today we're going to be adding, we're going to be texturing the menu buttons, and we're also going to be adding the diamond pattern onto the thumbsticks that you can see there. So it should be pretty cool. So let's just jump right into it. So let's start with the buttons since they're a lot simpler. So I'm going to select both the buttons and hit Shift H to single them out. And if you hit period on the numpad, it'll zoom in on them. So let's see, what we want to do is we actually don't need the backside. I don't know. Oh, we left the backside because we duplicated the button. So while in face select mode, I'm going to hit C to circle select, and I'm just going to select all these back faces. I'm going to select all the other ones over there, and then hit delete. Or I'm going to right click to get rid of the circle select, and hit X, and then delete faces. And the reason I can edit both of these at once is because Blender 2.8 allows you to shift click objects, and when you hit tab you can edit both of them at once. So these are still separate buttons. Now what we can do is what we need to do is UV unwrap this so that we can actually display the button icons that I have as texture files. So what we need to do is we need to go into edge select mode. And if you don't know how to UV unwrap things, I have a UV unwrapping tutorial that I'll probably link somewhere, or you can just go look on my channel. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this row right here on both controllers, as you can see. And I'm just going to hit U and then mark seam. I'm going to hit A and then U and then unwrap. So if we go to UV editing, did it mark them as 2? Okay, that's kind of weird. So let's just select the one button and we'll hit U and then unwrap. And then we'll select the other button, tab, U, and unwrap. So that way they're separate. I don't know why I did that. Let's see. And then what we should do is we should actually move these UV maps around. Actually, let's just simplify it. I'm going to select this button and hit delete, and we're just going to focus on one at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to display here and hit click on the stretch icon so we can see how much the UV maps are stretching. You can see this one's stretching a little bit, probably because this loop right here is kind of at an angle, but that's just going to be black anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit let's see, we're going to select these few vertices, and I'm going to hold down Control and plus on my keyboard to select all the connected vertices, and we're going to scale this down a bit, and we're going to put it right about here. And we actually have a image texture for this button. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit open, and then I'm going to click on the menu button. So we open up this menu button right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this UV texture right here, I'm going to place it in the center, I'm going to scale it up. Actually, let's turn off stretching for now so we can actually see through it. And this is where the menu button is going to be, as you can see. So if I select just these front faces, go into face select mode. If I just select these front faces, you can see where that where the where the texture is going to be relative to the UV maps, I guess, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to scale that in so it fits nice and snug. And so now that we know where that is, what we can do is we can go to we're going to go to shading, the shading tab. I'm going to zoom in by hitting period, and we're going to go to the materials tab. I'm going to make this no longer a duplicate, and we're going to name this menu button. And what we can do is we can hit Shift A, and we're going to type in image texture. I'm going to hit open. I'm going to select that menu button. What we're going to do is all we have to do is, I think it'd be easiest if we kept the principled shader, but if we also created another diffuse shader. And if we take the color from our button to here, because the menu button is just white lines with a blank background, so we can actually just add it on top of this principled shader. So now I'm going to hit Shift A and I'm going to type mix or add shader. And what we can do is we can just add the menu shader on top of this, since everything else is clear on it. So if we go to the texture panel, this isn't giving us what we want. Let's see if we go into here. Oh, there it is. So in the rendered view it shows it. So as you can see, it isn't quite right. It's a little sideways, but that's easy to fix. All we have to do is go to UV editing. We can probably turn on rendering again. You can see, so all we have to do is rotate this these UV maps. So let's go in the front-facing view, and we're just going to rotate this until it's straight enough, like that. I think that looks good. So there's our menu button. We'll go back into solid view, and what we can do is we can just let's go back to layout mode, and we'll hit Alt H to bring everything back. And all we have to do is go into front facing view. I'll go into wireframe. I'm just going to Shift D this button, drag it over, and since we already have most of the stuff set up, we can go back to shading. And all we have to do is make sure that this is separate texture. So we're going to click this little 2 to no longer make it a duplicate, and we'll name this. I think this is the task button, so I'll name it task button. And then I'll change the image texture to the task button PNG texture. So this one isn't quite centered, so all we have to do is go back to the UV editing tab, and we'll change this from menu button to task button, and you can see it's a little off center for some reason. I don't know how I did that, but all we have to do is take this circle right here, and we'll just scale it up a bit, make it nice and center. That should be good. And then if we go back into model or layout view, and if we go into rendered view, you can see there our buttons are. They actually look a little bit big, as you can see, compared to our reference. The menu does look a little too thick. I just made it in Photoshop real quick. So what we can do is we can just kind of quickly hop on over to UV editing mode. And I'll just kind of scale these out a little bit. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. And then tab this one back over to the menu buttons, and let's see what that looks like. And that looks a little bit better, so I think that's fine. You notice my my controller object looks a little weird. I think that it looks like it's a bug with the normal maps. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but you'll see if I take the normal map off of it, it fixes it. So maybe it's because I need to save it somehow externally, the normal map. So for now, I'm just going to leave the normal map turned off. I can always recreate it later. If you're running into this problem, I'll probably fix it later down the road. But I think it's because we're not actually saving it. As you can see, the controller normal map is just a black texture for some reason. So anyways, what time are we at? We're at 8 minutes. So now what we can do is we can add the diamonds to our thumbsticks, which actually the diamond thumbsticks look really cool. I tested it a little bit earlier, so let's go back to the model tab real quick, and I'm going to zoom in on this thumbstick, and we're probably going to duplicate these thumbsticks again, but for now we're going to hit Shift H with this thumbstick selected. I'm going to zoom in with period, and we again need to UV unwrap this, so we can go to the UV editing tab. If I click this, I don't think it'll break anything. I'm just going to tab into the UV editing mode, and let's just quickly UV unwrap this. So I'm going to go and do edge select. I'm going to select this edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge. So these face loops right here are going to be our diamond texture, and everything else isn't, but I'm also trying to make sure that it's properly unwrapped so it doesn't cause any stretching. We're also going to select this edge and this edge. That looks good. And I'm going to hit U, mark seam, and I'm going to hit A to select everything. Actually, we also want to add one on the bottom, and because this isn't this seam right here will cause a visible seam in the texture, but it's on the bottom, so it shouldn't be too noticeable. If we were using something like Substance Painter, it probably would have been able to fix it for us, but well, we're working pretty low budget here. So anyways, with that also marked, we're going to hit U and then unwrap. And here's all of our unwraps. You can see here, if we change it to stretch mode in the display tab, we can see there isn't really much stretching, which is good. Gotta turn that back off. And now what we can do is we can go over to the shading tab, and you see here's our thumbstick selected. Again, I'm going to separate this so it isn't a black plastic duplicate. I'm going to name this Thumbstick. So right now it's just this black texture. But what we need to do is we need to add diamonds to it. So what we can do is I'm going to hit plus over here to add another material, and I'm going to name this Diamond. So now we have a black material. Actually, I'm going to click this little tab here. I'm going to name it. I'm going to make it another thumbstick. So we have two thumbstick materials. But I'm going to click the two to make it not a duplicate, and I'm going to name this one Diamond, so we don't have to copy that black color. So we're going to name this Diamond. Sorry about that. That was a little confusing. So now we have two materials, and what we're going to do is, while in edit mode, you can actually assign different materials to different faces. So I'm going to go into face select mode, hit Alt A to deselect everything, and I'm going to hold Alt and select these loops right here. And then with the diamond material selected, I'm going to click assign. And then all we have to do is making sure our diamond material is selected, not thumbstick. We can come over here, we can hit Shift A, search, image texture, and I should have this also in the resource folder that I include in the description. Click open. We're going to click diamond normal map, open image. We're going to make sure again we set it to non-color data because it's a normal map. Shift A, we're going to type in normal map. There's our normal map, color to color, then normal map to normal map. And we're probably going to have to scale it out. Let's just take a peek. So if we hit Shift A to bring everything back, including our light, I'm going to hide these references real quick. So H. We go into rendered view. You can see there's our diamonds, but they are a little too big. So what we can do, did we UV unwrap this properly? You can see there's a big seam there. Let's go back to UV editing. Yeah, it looks fine. Maybe if we rotate it, it'll look better. But so now we're in the UV editing tab. So let's go into rendered view here, and you can see with this loop selected over here, we can highlight it over here by hitting A, and then let's just hit S and scale it up a bit. And you can see since this diamond pattern is a seamless texture, we can scale it up as much as we want. And we're going to leave it running in this sort of direction. As you can see on the controller, they kind of run in the same direction as up here. But we're going to want to scale this up quite a bit more, because you can see how tiny they are on the thumbstick here. And let's rotate it just a little bit, so they're all kind of going like in a straight direction here. And I think that looks pretty good. You can see down here there's that visible seam. There isn't really too much we can do about that. Tools like Substance Painter would be able to fix that. But let's test this out real quick. We can select, let's see here. I'm going to go out of render view. And, well, it's going to look a little weird. Honestly, I think we're just going to have to live with the seam for now. Because if I was to get rid of it, all the diamonds would kind of flow in different directions and look really weird. So, yeah, we're just kind of stuck with the seam, but that's okay. It still looks pretty cool from different angles. So, I'm going to go back to layout view, and I'm going to get out of rendered view. I'm going to delete this other thumbstick by selecting it, pressing X and delete. I'm going to select this thumbstick, Shift D it, and place it roughly there. And as you can see, now we have that diamond normal map, and it looks very much like the reference picture here. So it looks pretty cool. So what time are we at? We're about 14 minutes. So I think that's all for now. I think what I can do is I can quickly do that normal map thing I was talking about. As you can see, my thumbsticks are a little bit different from what they looked like before because Blender crashed, if you can remember that. So yeah, let's just quickly make that normal map again. So if by some chance you haven't lost the normal map data, you don't have to do this, but I'm just going to redo the step of making the normal map. So I'm going to enable the sculpt layer all the way. So you can see there we're overlapping there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select the sculpt and shift click the controller body and hit Shift H. So here's our sculpt and non-sculpt. And I'm going to go to UV editing, or no, shading. I'm going to go to the shading tab, and with the sculpt selected first, I'm going to come over here, select it, and then shift click the controller body. I'm going to click this controller map. I'm going to go to render, and again I'm going to save just in case it crashes. I'm going to hit bake, and there we go. There's our normal map. And what I'm going to do now is we should be able to save this. Okay, I found it. If you hit the 3 lines, you can go to image, and then you can go to save as. I'm going to just leave it as controller normal map. I'm going to click save as image. And now what we can do is we can click the X here, and we can click open, and then controller normal map. So now this is saved to an actual file, so we shouldn't lose that anymore. Now I can get rid of the sculpt again, and you can see if we bring everything back, hide these reference images once more, you can see that our normal map is working again in all its janky glory, so that looks cool. So as you can see, it's really coming together. I don't really know what to do next. I think what we'll do next is we'll add some realistic lighting, and if there's anything else that I can spot that I can do to improve this, we'll probably start by checking on these thumbstick loops and see if we can maybe make those look a little better, maybe reposition some buttons and stuff. But yeah, that's about it for this video. Thanks for watching. Again, if you had any questions or concerns, please leave them down in the comments, and I'll try to answer them if I can. So thanks for watching.